Hello, and welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy, Not a Checklist. This is on Field Manual 22-100 from 1983. So I think this is number 6 in the series. As I've said before, this is iterative. So I'm talking about things that have been taken away from or added since older versions. So you need to go back and watch those if you want to have context about how this thinking has developed. A couple of quick anecdotes or neat things about this document. I had been given the detail to go and throw away a bunch of old manuals because the Army in their infinite wisdom says, hey, this is new, throw out the old one. Not sure that's a good idea in leadership manuals because there might be something interesting that was missed. So I was throwing this away, thought it looked cool, went in to read it, asked somebody if I could keep it, and they said, yeah, I don't care, they're throwing it away anyway. So I kept it, highlighted it, did a bunch of fun stuff. When I read it at the time, I said, well, this is amazing. How come nobody's doing it? Which I didn't realize was sort of a typical reflex to leadership thought. And then the next thing that I realized is that, and I may allude to this later on, is that this is really a good conversation starter. It's written very conversationally, but, well, there's always a but, right? The problem, I think, is that it doesn't need to be that. There's a bunch of things in here that are really interesting and important and coherent that should have been in the first 10 pages. So if I decide I'm going to rewrite this, I'm going to make it 20 pages long with a bunch of appendices. So blah, 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 for more, go read this. For more, go read this. Because it has some good thoughts, but it's 200 pages long, or I think it's 300 pages long. And it could be a little tighter, if you know what I mean. But it's a good thing. This also gave me well, that's it. I'll talk about that later. So here's the cover. I'm going to pause several times because the way this was scanned in, you can see somebody physically scanned every page. And so in order for me to skip ahead, I do a bunch of flashing around because this doesn't refer to it correctly. It's a mess. So there'll be pauses. I apologize for the choppy editing. I would just rather have you guys have a good experience or a better experience. So, interesting. Here's the introduction. It talks about the purpose of the manual being to help leaders operating at the working level of companies, troops, batteries, squadrons, and battalions. Those leaders include sergeants, warrant officers, lieutenants, captains. The manual has 3 major issues to help you learn what a leader must be, know, and do, to help you teach, coach, and counsel your subordinates, and to help you develop cohesive, disciplined, well-trained units. Now, it says good leaders develop through a never-ending process of self-study, education, training, and experience. This manual will help you go through this process. It provides a guide for developing yourself, your subordinates, and your unit. The best way to use it is to read a chapter or 2 at a time, then discuss the points of those chapters with senior subordinates and others who are also reading this manual. Now, I, being young and sort of gullible, thought that this is what leadership was going to be. I thought that my sergeants were going to, once a month, once I became a sergeant, hey, we're all going to sit together and talk about a leadership topic at different levels. And I thought, oh, maybe the command sergeant major is going to come down and talk. And then I thought this is what officers were going to do. So, hey, this is the topic for the month. We're going to take an afternoon off, preferably a Friday, so you can sort of blend the weekend into your learning because it's the end of the week and all that. Never happened. It took until I got out. Now, I would talk about leadership at meetings that I had with my people, but when I got out, of the Army and was working in different organizations, I made it was basically 30 to 45 minutes a month of our monthly meeting was me talking about or us discussing leadership topics. So to me, this is what needs to happen. And I'm sure it's not happening. I'm sure it's not. It wasn't happening when I was in. Now, I'm going to pause and skip. This book uses, or this manual uses, a couple of stories. One is about Chamberlain in Gettysburg, Little Round Top. Another one is this future battle. First one is here's how Chamberlain responded amazingly to all the pressure and saved the battle. And the other one is this future battle where there's a couple of companies. One company's got catastrophic leadership problems. Another one's got good problems. Takes up 30 pages. I think that they could have used better stories that had some more complications to them because their references are sort of simplistic. The future story, you can sort of tell it was written to fit the bill, but there's plenty of relevant information. So first pause, and I'm going to skip ahead. All right, just a quick aside or a quick note. So the 11 principles of leadership stuck. I think these are applicable to civilians as well, right? It's know your stuff, know your people, know what your organization can do, make sure you employ them that way. Smart, right? So these haven't changed. I just like that they kept them, and it's on a nice two-page thing. Now, what's funny is after this chart, I'm going to scroll down a little bit, talks about the factors of leadership. And here's the leadership. Let me pause. Something got missed. So I apologize. I did this video once, and the power decided to go out because it's really windy outside, and so all of my highlights got lost. So now I'm skipping around and hunting for stuff. So this will be fun. But it talks about the factors of leadership is the leader, the follower, communication, and situation. What's funny is there's this huge paragraph on followers. There's this huge paragraph on huge section on communications. Huge thing on the situation. And the leader, you must have honest understanding of who you are, what you know, and what you can do. This is necessary in order for you to control and discipline yourself. That's all it says about the leader. Interesting. So, maybe our definitions are a little flimsy, but I'm going to skip ahead again. All right, smooth edit, I'm sure, because I'm not editing. I'm just hitting pause on the record. So here's a little thing. The leadership framework. You must be, you must know, you must do. All right, that's what makes sense. You have to be committed to the professional Army ethic and possess professional character traits. They're going to talk about character later, but I don't understand why they had to use the professional. It should be desirable. So then there's examples: loyalty to the nation's ideals, loyalty to unit, courage, competence, candor, commitment. Those are the character traits. And then know the 4 factors of leadership: know human nature, know your job, and then do, provide direction, implement, and motivate. Okay, that all makes sense. But are we really just describing the character of a leader, and is this just attune, competence, environment, goal? Now, like I said, I read this when I was a kid, so maybe some of this stuff got planted in my head. Now, I answered my own question when I was wondering why nobody does it, right? So I'm going to read this, and it's going to be kind of fast. Like I said, I'm reading this for the people that are listening. But it says, these are the things you must know as a leader. So you have to know the human dimension, how to motivate people in general and your subordinates in particular. Know your own strengths and weaknesses, the strengths and weaknesses of your subordinates, how beliefs and values become instilled on people and how they can be changed, how character is developed, how to communicate in a way that builds bonds of mutual trust, confidence, respect, understanding among soldiers, between leaders and troops, how to learn, or how people learn, how to develop morale, cohesion, and discipline, how soldiers can deal effectively with stress, how to teach individual and team skills necessary for unit effectiveness, how informal group norms or rules become instilled in beliefs, values, groups, members, how to teach and train others to become good leaders. You must have the knowledge required to create favorable situations. This includes how to identify, analyze, influence the important forces in any situation, how to plan, the technical and tactical knowledge necessary to do your job, and the important lessons from military history. Now, why did I say all that? because that's a lot. That's reading, studying, and thinking about philosophy books. That's going and reading a book about some big battle in history or some war or something, and then spending a week or two thinking about it. So I know why nobody did it, because nobody has time. Well, we need to give people the time. If we think it's a priority, and look, you can take these and take out the military stuff and just make it employees, and it's the same thing. You make somebody a boss for 5 years, 10 years, and you don't give them any time to read, don't give them time to learn the lessons from what they've been doing, then things are going to get stale and fall apart, and the person's not going to develop. In order to do all this stuff, this is my idea for the solution, and the Army sort of does it, but not really, is you go get a job for 3 years, being in command, being a leader somewhere, and then you get some time off to go think, to go study, to go be an instructor or a mentor for the new leadership assessment program that you have, so that you've just come from being in charge. You can go down and say, I know what you think you know, but you don't know. And give people time to read this stuff and to assimilate what they've learned, to take some time to think. But no, what happens is you get a job, then you get stuffed into some other position that's super paperwork intensive, super detail oriented, and you're mentally exhausted when you get done. So you don't even have the energy to do any of this stuff, to learn all of these things about humanity. And I'll tell you, in all the leadership training I got in the Army, we never talked about the human element. Maybe for 10 minutes, hardly ever. It was how to get promoted, how to climb your way to the top. So this is important. These are important ideas, but you need to have time to be able to study and think about them. And we don't do it. We certainly don't do it in our training school or our training centers, because we'll do this and the next day is a test, and that's the last time you talk about it. Anyway, next. Alrighty, so this is a section on character. And the sad part is that they talk about characteristics of leaders, but it's in a different chapter, and it should be in this one about character. But I find a couple of things interesting. I went through back and highlighted again, so hopefully this sticks. It says here, this is the future leader example, that one of the reasons that the colonel didn't know what was going on and the terrible indicators of leadership, proficiency, discipline, cohesion, and morale, was because his subordinates didn't tell him. And all he did was go sort of look cursorily and then not do any more analysis. Now, I'm very frustrated, because what was I excited about in all the other documents? It was that the indicators of leadership were outlined, and then there was a bunch of ways to test it. So you walk into a unit and you've got discipline problems, people aren't good at their job, there's no cohesion, and the morale is bad. You've got terrible leaders. Well, that's gone. It's not in here anymore. Well, why? I don't understand why, unless it was so bad that you just take it out because it's impossible to do. But I put that all the way back in the problem chapter in the original series that I did. If you have high turnover, you have low morale, you have people aren't happy coming to work, you have a high call out rate, you've got whatever 6 or 7 problems I listed, you've got a terrible leadership environment. Fix it. Fire the leader, or get it taken care of. Or the leader could have destroyed it so much you got to move them. Maybe you've got somebody that's got the leadership ability that was never mentored and not told this is bad. But that's why we talk about the different characteristics. Then right next to that, it says, create a climate conducive to feedback. Well, how do you do that? With humility and empathy and integrity, and you pay attention. You got to go check. It takes a long time. It took me, I was in my last big job that I had where I was in charge. It probably took me 3 or 4 months before people believed that I wasn't going to crush their soul for coming and telling me the truth, because that's all they had ever had. If they made a mistake, they hid it. If they did something else, they covered it up. If something terrible happened, they tried to fix it as best they could, and usually it was a mess. But that's because the previous leadership had they had terrible leadership for many years, and then the person that hired me was repairing it. But it still took me all that time for them to trust that I wasn't going to destroy them. And sometimes it's hard. If somebody willfully does something wrong, it's a completely different thing than somebody making a mistake. Anyway, if you scroll down real quick, it says here's what you have to do. This is for leaders in civilian organizations and in the Army. Spend time with subordinate units. Get out of your office and go see what's going on. Maybe go in as a civilian, maybe come in as a customer. Maybe not a phone call, although it talks about that in that book, Up the Organization. Get out of uniform and go in somewhere if you're in the military, and go in somewhere as a customer, or go in somewhere like you're just a schmo and nobody recognizes you because you don't have your rank on, right? Go see, go down and do, find who's the person that's doing the hardest, most difficult, most annoying job in the organization, and go do it with them. Because maybe you'll find out something. Maybe you'll learn something you didn't know. But you sit behind your desk, you look at PowerPoint slides, you look at reports. You don't know what's going on in your organization. You don't have a clue. Because everybody could be lying to you, or they couldn't. But if they know you're checking, then suddenly everything changes. And you go down. I mean, I love, that show Undercover Boss, because they always come out and go, oh my gosh, this is terrible. These people are working so hard. You should know. You should know. Sorry if I'm looking disgusted. You should know. All right, another pause. All right, this is what I was talking about earlier, about one of these examples that should be way up towards the beginning instead of, I think we're 100 pages in at this point. So right here are the characteristics. This should be the character, right? Instead, it's under ethics. So listen to this and pay attention real quick. So as a leader, you should use your influence to promote unit cohesion and discipline, organization. To do that, you do this when you show sincere concern for all subordinate leaders and troops or employees in your unit. Being concerned with the personal and professional values, needs, and goals of your people, and by being deeply involved in all of their training and activities, you'll sense who the informal leaders are, and you'll see which soldiers influence people and give you an idea who to develop for your leadership. Second, remain firm when you sincerely believe that you are right, even if it means your whole squad, platoon, company, or organization will be angry at you. In the long run, if you're right, they will know it and respect your courage. So what's that? That's integrity. And vigilance. Over here is empathy and vigilance and humility. And then here is admit to all concerned if you were wrong. If you did something you believed to be right at the time and circumstances later proved you wrong, oh, I got it. I read that wrong. Admit to all concerned that you were wrong if you did something you believed to be right at the time and circumstances later proved you wrong. This takes humility and moral courage, integrity, but you will gain respect in the long run. Some people think it's a sign of weakness. It is wrong. So right there, it's the characteristics of a leader. It's right there. And then vigilance was up there making sure you go pay attention to your unit. It was 2 pages. Take that and fix it, put it all the way at the front. Here's what you have to have as a leader. Because the stories are great, but really you should start off with this, then do the stories. Anyway, another pause. So here's another section. So this is talking about ethical dilemmas. And how do you make the right decisions in an ethical dilemma? Well, there shouldn't be an ethical dilemma. If it's the right thing to do, you do the right thing. So it talks about the different sources of pressure. It's all correct. Pressures from self-interest, pressures from a peer, pressures from subordinates, pressures from your seniors. Correct. But however, what happens if you sell your soul? Well, then forever you've lied, and it's the worst thing ever. There's some goofy stuff that I did during my time in the Army where I made a mistake. And one time I remember I willfully was trying to game the system. And I had about a 15% chance it was going to work. And I told the people around, I'm trying to see if this is going to work. If it fails, you tell the boss that I did it. It's my fault. Nobody else gets anything for it. And it didn't work. And I got in trouble. And I got punished, and the boss pulled me aside and said, I have to punish you because you did the wrong thing. However, good job not lying. I didn't lie, right? There's a couple other times where I basically had the chance to do the easy thing and cover something up, or hide it, or not talk about it, or not do anything, or do the right thing and expose it and dig up all the corruption and all that sort of stuff. And it was risky. I could have lost my job, but I went for the right thing because I found there was a problem. And I said, no matter what, if I get fired because I did the right thing, then fine. But if I get fired because I lied, that's my fault. So never do that, right? This is under ethical dilemmas. This is just a big chapter on integrity, right? There's no ethical dilemma. Just do the right thing. Just tell the truth. And your boss should never put you in a place. There should be no pressure from your peers. The pressure from your peers should be, don't lie. Pressure from your boss should be, don't lie. Your subordinates are going to watch you. And if you do the wrong thing, you're done, right? This is just an integrity chapter. So it's good examples, but you could just do 300 pages on integrity about reasons why not to do it, or why not to do it, why to do it that way. All right, another pause, and we're back. Okay, so talks about character again. A person of strong character can be either moral or immoral. Forceful gang leaders are examples of character, or leaders who use their character to pursue immoral values. This type of person has strong but bad character. A person of good or honorable character uses their will and drive to pursue and build moral values. Look, if you have humility, empathy, integrity, vigilance, that's good. If you are narcissistic, if you are willfully blind, if you're egocentric, and you are soulless, that's bad, right? So what I find interesting here is it says, and I just love this because this is an absolute truth, this paragraph. Your subordinates assess your character as they see your day-to-day actions. They learn whether you are open and honest with them. They see whether you are indecisive, lazy, or selfish. They may test your will by cutting corners on the job and watching your response. They observe whether you advance yourself over their interests or whether you are supportive of them in the unit, organization. They will quickly see if your actions are inconsistent with your values or the formal or informal norms. For example, if the troops or people know that their leader is breaking the law by using drugs or stealing off supplies, their character becomes suspect, and they will start doing bad themselves, because then they can go, aha, we know what you're doing too. But you're always being watched. So yeah, the absence of character flaws such as indecision, deceit, cowardice, and selfishness. There you go. Like I said, some great conversation points in here, but no indicators of leadership. Pause again. And we're back again. So here we go. Now look, we've talked about that paragraph before that was integrity, humility, empathy, and then the vigilance was the page before. Well, we get down here to traits of character in these important stories, and here's integrity. Right? Now, I don't necessarily like the definition here, but that's okay. Integrity is utter sincerity, honesty, and candor. It's avoidance of any kind of deceptive, shallow, or expedient behavior. A leader of integrity strictly adheres to his code of professional beliefs and values. Okay, so we just talked about character can be good or bad. So if your professional beliefs are bad, maybe you don't need that sort of integrity. So we got to make sure that we've got the right beliefs and values, and then you have integrity to those. It may sound like it's picking nits, but it's a nuanced position. All right, empathy or compassion. Compassion and empathy are two different things. Empathy is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, and you still got to do the right thing. So empathy is being sensitive to the feelings, values, interests, and well-being of others. It includes making suggestions to help people, yada, yada. The reason I say empathy and compassion are two different things is because empathy is being able to feel something. Compassion is just being emotional and helping and all this sort of stuff. I understand what you're going through, but we still got to do this. So empathy helps you figure out how to motivate that person or how to get them to do what you need to do. Or you have enough empathy where you go, I don't think that you can hack this. You're going through too much. Take a break. I don't like the complete definition here of humility. Humility is admitting weakness or imperfections in your character, knowledge, and skills. It is acknowledging making mistakes and taking appropriate action to correct those mistakes. Now, I don't like the way that, because this assumes that there are perfect characters and that there are completely strong people. I don't think that there's weaknesses and imperfections, right? Everybody's got their stuff they're good at and stuff they're bad at. Everybody has things, there's a whole sliding scale of what people are capable of. So just because you're not good at something doesn't mean it's a weakness. It means you're not good at it. Do you have the talent to be good at it? Could you even be good at it? I use the reference with me in music all the time. Love music, can't play a note. I am not the greatest math person on the planet. And I actually took some time to study it. And I took a test, an assessment test for a course, did poorly, studied math for 3 months, and improved by 1%. So is that really just a weakness, or is it just something I'm not good at? I'll go find a math person. I always know who all the math people are where I am. Wherever I am, I find the math person because I know I'm not good at it. Anyway, it's a little bit too much about me, but all right. I think we've got 2 more things to talk about, and then we're kind of wrapping this one up. Okay, 2 more interruptions or 2 more pauses, and then we'll be finished with this document. So this one I think is supremely important because it talks about culture, and to me it goes right to the heart of what I think can happen if you actually have genuine, real leadership at every level of an organization. Character normally develops over a long period of time from behaving consistently with the right values and norms. For this reason, it is important that soldiers be well led and well trained beginning with their induction into service. When soldiers and young leaders begin their training in the Army, most psychologically ready for change. They want to become better people through Army life and training. They are prepared to give up some of their old values and habits to adopt the values, habits, and practices of the Army. It is essential, therefore, that all units have effective programs for integrating new soldiers into a unit. Leaders must ensure that the right military values and norms of working, training, and living are being taught, demanded, reinforced, and demonstrated. These values and norms contribute to the development of character. So you have to have that culture. You're going to take care of your people. You're going to pay attention. You're going to have empathy. You're going to listen to what they say, right? And if you have an environment where there's integrity, where there's empathy, where there's vigilance, where all that sort of stuff is going on, then people are going to talk to you. People are going to tell you what's going on. You're going to see what's happening. They're going to start to relax because people are normally in self-protection mode. And if they feel safe because they're not going to get their soul crushed because they made a mistake, then you get trust. You get all of those good things. And then those people start to expect that. And then those people are going to stick around. You talk to anybody that their first job, they went in and the environment was sour. People were backstabbing, climbing over each other's backs to try to get promoted, gossiping, all this sort of garbage. They were out. Same thing in the Army. But you go somewhere where you've got a good leader, you've got good leadership, you've got good examples, you know what can happen, you know what's possible, you feel safe that you can make mistakes and grow, you're going to stay around. Here it is, written in 1983. So there you go, right? All the stuff that we've talked about. All right, I've got one more little thing that I found amazing, and then I'm going to summarize and close. All right, so for those of you that have watched my opening series, I talk about the philosophy. I go through the leadership quotes of the Tao Te Ching. So, first one is, there's a quote, or it's from the Tao. It says, when the master governs, the people are hardly aware they exist. Next best is a leader who is loved. Next is one who is feared, and the worst is one who is despised.
Maybe something on an article and maybe a Q&A. So at least
now,
3 things.
You go and look at the references for this field manual. It says nothing about the Tao Te Ching, which means that the wisdom is correct. Because they made this cool little chart, 2 key questions, perfect. But there you go. That's something that was written, as far as we know, written down 25 to 100 to 3,000 years ago. And here it is in
So,
this manual.
welcome to
Amazing,
the channel.
right?
I really appreciate your time.
So,
There's a lot of
as we
content
keep
out there.
talking about the information, this is not my
Talk
stuff.
here
Here's the
is,
Tao Te Ching. Here it
great.
is,
I
whatever.
appreciate it.
Now, the rest of the
For your time.
manual
Enjoy.
goes into examples about how to do training management, how to do coaching, how to do counseling, all important documents. My criticism, if there is really one, is that this is still, it could be more concise up front. You can take all this and distill it into about 20 pages. Here's the character traits that you need: humility, integrity, empathy, vigilance. Here are the 11 principles of leadership. Here are the indicators of leadership. Here are a couple of pitfalls. And then you can have references to all the rest of it. So if you're just going to grab the one thing, it's a little thing you can carry around, no problem. And then you've got references to the big thing. But this one is interesting. I'm just really upset that they got rid of the indicators of leadership and that it's 300 pages long. Now, one quick thing I will speed up to, so apologize the zip. Let's see how fast I can do this without losing control. Oh, it's being slow. I'm going to pause and get there. All right, last bit to close up. So this is the references at the end of the document. And the thing that I found fascinating is you go all the way back to the 1948 one, and all of the references are from the 30s. Well, the only reference that survived is this one right here, Leaders in Leadership, which I'm going to do a review during next year's program or next year's plan. The rest of it's all new stuff. Well, no wonder it became all verbose and we lost track and we got rid of indicators of leadership and all this. We're not even using foundational documents. And so all of these people are separated by 20 or 30 years from those core ideas. Now we're here. And so we're starting to get a little diluted and verbose and a bunch of words and a bunch of things that are maybe causing problems. And so, we're going to notice a trend over the next few iterations, because basically we've got 1990, 99, 2004, and then from 2004 to 2019, there are hardly any changes. It's just changing pages. So we're getting towards the end, and then I think we'll see the effect that has. Anyway, I apologize for all the pauses. Like I said, it was just too much, and it was a lot. And I appreciate you staying through this, and hopefully you're finding this useful. I found it very interesting. I will see you on the next video. Have a great day.